Hello everyone. Our group are going to talking about, actually we don't have like a object to show for you, but we are going to sell you about a platform, a 3D print platform that's for Brazilian drug interdiction. So actually we are going to sell you a portable 3D printing that you can use like the military, Brazilian military can use on the border to prevent drug trade. So for us, for our team, security first, then development. So our team, we have Erik, is our project management, and he do ag and food business manufacturing. I am Joao, I'm the human factors lead, and I'm in the civil engineering major. And Chris is not here, but he's our modeling and 3D printing leader, and he do industrial and systems engineering. So let's start to talking about the problem that we catch to get to our solution. So we start to looking around in Brazil where we have like the biggest problem on that, and we saw that favelas, you can know as slums, are very dirty place, and we saw that the favelas have a lack of security, and that came from corruption, and the corruption came from the drug trade. So where came from that drug trade? The drug trade basically came from the jungle border. As you can see in the drug roads right there in the picture, basically the drugs came from mostly from Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia. And after talking about the problem is increasing. As you can see in the charts, the marijuana has increased like 22% in just 6 years for people that are 80 years old before that. And as you can see, Brazil is the second biggest consumer of cocaine, and also have a lot of addicts to crack, as you can see in the numbers. So crack, the base composite of crack is cocaine. So where it came from, like these drugs? So basically, the drug smuggling occurs in the dense jungle. As you can see, there's some picture to illustrate that. But I want to mention here that the drugs happen in an isolated place. As you can see in Brazil, the border of Brazil with that countries are like 5 times the border of Mexico and USA. And as you can see, it's a very large border, and have like some of the border in Bolivia, for example, have like a river there. And I want to point out that this border, somewhat more, like the most of the place have like a deep jungle there. So I'm going to talk about the units that operate in that jungle to prevent that. We have the 3 main missions there. That is Agatha 6, 7, and 8, that basically are composed by the Air Force, Brazilian Air Force. And Agatha 8 have seized 3,000 pounds of drugs in the last year. That is a big quantity. And also there are the Federal Police Department that operates in that border. And also you have the CIGS, that is a jungle training, like they are most on the Amazon jungle. So what all these missions have in common? They operate in isolated areas, and basically CIGS become at least 6 weeks on the jungle, and all of these missions have difficult resupply. So what kind of equipments that units use? Basically they have like as surveillance, they have drones. As you can see, there is a picture of a drone there. That is the department, the Brazilian Department of Federal uses that. Also, they use quadcopters. And also, as transport, they use a jeep, some jeep armored, and some small boats on the river, the border. And some equipments that they use are Western rifles, and some electronics and some medical device to help them. So after talking about all these problems, about the units that operate on that jungle, Erik is going to talk for us about the solution that we found for that problem.
Thanks, Joao. So as Joao was saying, we really wanted to do something to solve a lot of the issues in the favelas. So we had all these great ideas. We kept kind of running them through the feasibility filter, and we kind of got stuck on the fact that there's a lack of security and there's this corruption and violence in all the favelas. So that really led us to change gears and move in a completely different direction and focus on the military and increasing their ability to stop these drugs and to stop this corruption from coming in the first place. All right, so what we're offering is a complete suite of military-grade 3D printing equipment. So it's got a ruggedized, shockproof, water-resistant printer. It's got a Pelican waterproof case. It's got solar panels. It's got all the hard drives, all the software to create any kind of file. It's got all those common use files sort of saved on that hard drive. It's got satellite uplink, a tough book. I mean, it's a complete package. And so there's really a lot of different platforms and a lot of different ways you could use this printer in military operations. So the US Army is currently 3D printing Afghanistan quite successfully. And Amazon is actually printing, or they filed a patent for mobile delivery printers that can actually show up to your door and print a part out on the spot. And another really exciting sort of different take on a platform for 3D printing in military operations is actually a boat. So the Brazilian Army, the Brazilian military uses boats quite a bit to insert these teams, insert these special operators into the jungle. So it's not that big of a stretch to put this ruggedized military-grade printer on that boat and have these operators have access to that technology on the way into their mission. So we're already delivering beer and pizza apparently with drones, so it's really not that big of a stretch to drop off these really crucial parts of these military operations. So this is where it gets exciting. There's really so many different opportunities and applications for this technology. You know, we're not just printing guns, we're not going Cody Wilson and trying to create anarchy, but we're really just doing the whole gamut of military applications. So whether that's medical, whether that's topographical maps, which I believe we sent around. That blue looking spoon is not a crack spoon, that's actually a quadcopter arm. So we're talking about drugs, but that's not what it is. And really you could do anything from goodwill projects to minor repairs, temporary fixes, or a complete redesign. So I guess a kind of a sample or an example of this application. Say you have your team up here on the left. They're about to be inserted via your insertion boat. They're coming up the Amazon. They realize they want an individual three-dimensional map for every single operator on that team. So they print them out en route. Once they get to the delivery spot, their insertion point, they realize one of their buttstocks is actually cracked and broken. So they're already halfway in the jungle by then. They radio back to that boat. They send the file that they need. And then a drone actually delivers the parts, not an Amazon drone. I couldn't edit that smiley face out, but they deliver a buttstock. In this case, the team is successful in their mission and they stop those drugs from coming over in the first place. So these are just some sample applications that we kind of thought about. A lot of them were sort of floating around. We got them on the internet. We kind of modified some of them and really tailored them to this application. So on the left, you have it's a phone adapter for a high-powered spotting scope. So it lets you take high-quality, long-distance images. This is a 3D printed gimbal for a drone. We've got the buttstock, of course, which is on the document display there. There's another 3D map. We've got a drone or an optics adapter, medical supplies, a radio knob, and there's that arm again. So with this application and with this kit, we really believe that we can bring a lot of the logistics costs down. So it costs quite a bit to send a helicopter from wherever, some firm base in the rear to these jungle operations, not to mention you're going to screw up the mission, just the setup time, the personnel. Why not put that part on a drone, print it off, and send that over to that team? Not only with reduction in transport costs, but just increase in unit readiness and really to allow these units to stay out in the field longer to prevent these drugs and all these other consequences from those drugs, the corruption, the violence, so on and so forth. And then, of course, the ultimate goal is less corruption, and then we can even possibly save lives by just reducing the danger of these logistics runs. So Joao here was actually able to get in contact with some current and former military personnel in Brazil, and they had a lot of good things to say about the potential and the applications for this project. They gave us a lot of good feedback, and we'll just kind of leave it with that. And we realized that throwing a printer into the jungle is not going to solve all of Brazil's problems, but we think it's really a step in the right direction to address a lot of these issues with the drugs and the violence and the money coming in, so that we can focus on the real personal problems in the favelas. And with that, we'll thank you for listening. We'll open up to any questions if you have any.
I feel like a lot of military equipment is really ruggedized to begin with.
Yep.
Do you have an understanding from actual users of military equipment what type of things break? Like I know you said the butt stock of a rifle or other things, but like I feel like those are some of the least likely things to break.
From personal experience, we have experienced quite a bit of buttstock breakage per se. Drones, obviously, little things, knobs, seals, clips, that kind of thing, just kind of everyday wear parts that, I mean, you could throw 20 of them in your backpack, but then the one thing that you're going to need is not going to be there. So that's kind of the beauty of it. Like, you can never really predict what's going to break. You can try to your best ability, but that's the beauty of the system. It's just you have the unlimited file to print whatever you want.
So you've talked about this being in a very, kind of alone area, hard to get and all of that stuff. Do you guys have an idea of the quantity and type of materials that would be sent out? And kind of a tangential question is, I guess, is there concerns around, well, do those supplies that you're sending out become targets themselves because they're high quality materials and, the wrong people get their hands on the printer and the materials,
Sure.
then, well, you're adding to the problem.
We kind of we thought about the possibility of drones being, intercepted or falling in the wrong hands. It's hard to gauge, of course, the size of that, the scope of that problem. The materials themselves, for the most part, we consider PLA, ABS, and Altam specifically. It costs a little bit more, but it's really got the strength characteristics. So it's all FDM. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's all just basically plastic, thermoplastic. So as far as a material standpoint, it's really nothing to worry about too much. So I don't know if that answered your question, but okay.